Yo, what's good? Three in the key, fam. Man, we back. NBA is back. It's a new season. It's a new season, dog. What's going on, everybody? Happy Wednesday. We're recording this day after we had OKC Houston Instant Classic game number 1. We had Golden State LA. I can't believe basketball is back. Yo, let me know if I'm tripping. I feel like this offseason went more quickly than usual. I feel like normally I get to the point where I really miss basketball, and maybe it was the way the news was set up all off season or something like that. Basketball news kept flowing in, people changing teams, but I feel like we're back kind of quick. And I think I was watching the game at a buddy's house, and one of them had a great idea yesterday. So Adam Silver, I know my platform is big enough that you're watching this. Consider pushing your calendar back. Consider pushing the schedule back in the year. Here's why. This is not even on the schedule. This is all dome. But number one, you're not competing with football. You're not competing. Neither is baseball, but they got 162 games. They kind of need their whole calendar. You're not competing with football. So if you start a little bit later, you could let football dominate for those first maybe like 10 weeks of their season instead of the first 6 or 7. And then you have more overlap at the end during that dead zone where there's nothing on after the NBA Finals ends. I feel like that's you can run the summer if you push this joint back. There's no reason. What's number 2? If you wanted to, which, hey, load management has become an issue in the league. If you wanted to, you could reduce the number of games as well. If you really didn't want to run the whole summer, I know players have gotten used to being off over the summer and things like that. So just something to think about. Free consulting advice from me. So let's get started, everybody. For those of you joining us for the first time, welcome. My name is Kaim, and I am the host that's rocking the brand with the 3 stripes today. No paid advertisement, no marketing, no none of that. Just shout out my little brother. We rocking the brand with the 3 stripes. So let's get started, man. We got a lot to talk about today. It's the season preview. So season just started yesterday. We're going over who's going to get MVP. We're going over, and we're really going to have more of a conversation over how MVP voting goes, how social media plays. Like, I don't really like where MVP's been headed the past few years, really the past decade. We're going to have a conversation on what everyone should be looking out for. What am I seeing that I'm not hearing from the rest of the league, rest of NBA media, rest of fans? Which offseason moves won't work out? So what's the most overrated move of the offseason? And then we'll get into a championship prediction. I think that section will be pretty boring. And then hop into some quick Lakers thoughts, because as we talk about on this show often, we are Lakers propaganda. Let's hop right in, man. I'm actually just come in hot with MVP, man. And this is supposed to be a prediction segment. Who do I think is going to do it? The goal is to get it right. So since the goal is to get it right, when I grew up, sometimes my parents would tell me, like, this is a apolitical podcast here, except everyone deserves human rights. History is sometimes taught in a certain way in certain countries where the 100% unfiltered truth isn't necessarily prioritized as what should be given to all the students. Sometimes the 100% unfiltered truth is actually not what the curriculum is meant to intend. The curriculum is meant to intend a certain message. And my parents always told me that it was their responsibility as parents and my responsibility as a learner to know both. I should be able to get a 100% on the test of what I'm supposed to be learning in the parts of history that are being taught, and I should be able to have an intelligent conversation. And if I was tested on, different parts of history that aren't as heavily emphasized in the curriculum, I should be able to handle those questions. And I agree. And this is what I feel like when doing the MVP award. So I'm going to start with who I think will win and why. And I went kind of back and forth. on this one. The finalists ended up being Giannis and Luka. And I think it's going to come down to who can win the most games out of those two. And I think the Lakers have a better chance to have a better record or just have more signature moments over the course of the season than Giannis can. They shipped his co-star out of there. They did get him some help on at center, but they had a good center in Brook. They let Brook walk, brought in Miles Turner. So I'm going to go with Luka. We talked about this being Lakers propaganda, but I think really the only thing that's going to hold Luka back is team record. Because even though this is propaganda, we'll talk quickly at the end. I'm a little concerned about the Lakers' ability to, be that kind of top 3, 4 seed in the West that normally you need to be an MVP. Obviously, that's not a rule. It's just what, again, I'm answering the question like I want to get 100% on the test of what actually happened. So, what do I mean by that? This award, the most valuable player award, should go to the most valuable player. Shocking analysis. The most valuable player, I don't think, is as volatile as the recipients of the reward would suggest. And I think this goes all the way back in my basketball fanhood. I'm sure it goes back further than this because I've heard that Jordan deserved more MVPs. And I believe it. Kobe, Shaq, they have one each. I don't know this for a fact. I didn't look through the stats from those years, but I believe they could have gotten more. Where I started and where this starts for me is LeBron. So LeBron wins MVP 09 in 10. It's clear he's getting to that point. He's getting to that point. This is around the time where Kobe fans start turning haters because it's clear Kobe's still winning championships. He actually went back to back in this time, but it's clear the best individual player in the league is starting to shift, and this young kid is really coming in and kind of stealing Kobe's thunder because this is supposed to be Kobe's time. Because when Kobe was a dog in the beginning of his career, he had Shaq. Shaq got all the Finals MVPs. Shaq and a couple in one regular season MVP. Shaq was considered the force of that team. They argue ship Shaq out. Kobe can't. Kobe's missing the playoffs. So finally, he gets a good team. The Lakers make some good moves. Some questionably favorable moves, and just like we saw again last year, by the way. And Kobe is back. He gets his MVP. They lose the finals that year, but he comes back, wins the next two. But LeBron's still in these MVPs. 11, they give the MVP to Derrick Rose, youngest MVP ever. Shout out Derrick Rose. Given how his career went, I'm actually glad he got an MVP. I don't really harbor it against him. However, that was LeBron's MVP. And this is where the conversation divulges between who will win it and who should win it. In 11, the Bulls had a better team record, but LeBron was all NBA and all defense. I'm not going to go down the whole argument because we could talk about that for a very long time. The point is, look up the stats. Argue with me in the comments if you feel like it. But to me, LeBron is the MVP in 11, and I don't think it's a very controversial take. LeBron had just made the decision. So the media, which votes on the award, had to put their imprint on the award. On top of that, we don't really like giving 3 straight. Only one player got 3 straight. That's Larry Bird. And that's Larry Bird. So the media has voter fatigue. They give it to Derrick Rose, whatever. LeBron gets it in 12. LeBron gets it in 13. 14 KD, 15, 16 Steph. Things happen. That's fine. They deserve their award. I also feel like the COVID year that was cut off, LeBron could have gotten that one. They gave it to Giannis, which was fine. But I think part of the reason the voters made that choice was because Giannis didn't have one yet. LeBron had 4, and they had to make that decision. He had to make the decision on if you wanted LeBron. Did he deserve? Was this year so much better than everybody else? Not that he deserved MVP of this year, which is how the award should be judged, but did he deserve to go up to 5 MVPs to join somebody like Jordan? You got to understand, the media is doing this in their head the whole time. Do we want to give LeBron the same amount as Jordan? All right. Appreciate y'all riding on that history with me because that brings us to today. I think Luka's going to win the award because he hasn't won one before. And even seeing yesterday, I came to this conclusion before the game last night, but the game last night illustrates better than I could even have thought to before the game happened. What's going on with Luka? Matter of fact, let's just key in on Luka. So this will be considered a bad game. We can use regular season stats normally. Actually, just to not confuse the audience, I'll use here. If you watch the game, well, if you watch the game, you know Luka individually played well and looked good offensively. I mean, you see he was -8. Team got beat by 10. Honestly, he could have really opened up on him. Luka and Austin Reeves kind of had a flurry in the fourth quarter that took it from being a blowout to a respectable game. Uh, but this would not be considered a dominant game. This was not, you know, when Luka scored 70 something against my Hawks and they won. This was a game they were behind the whole entire game. It wasn't particularly pretty. And these are Luka's counting stats. I just want you guys to see what's going on here. 43 points, 12 rebounds, 9 assists, on 63% shooting, and 2 steals and a block for good measure. So 43, 12 and 9, near triple double, 2 steals and a block on 63% shooting. And we know this isn't, I mean, he shot 20% from three. So this is not a situation where, oh, he just hit 10 step back threes in the first quarter, like how we see sometimes. He shot 70% from the free throw line. So this was not some like hot shooting. Like, obviously 63%, he was hot from 2-point range, but that's a more sustainable thing. That's just one game. One game wins you the MVP award, not. But I think it's a good microcosm of what is going to be asked of Luka this year. And I think his numbers are going to be just stupid. Just stupid. Giannis, the other guy, I think that his impact will be just the same, if not more than Luka's, because of his defensive impact, because of his hustle on the game, because of his size, strength, and athleticism. But I think to the media, again, this is a media driven award. Giannis has won one, Luka has not. Giannis is not going to have the playmaking type numbers that Luka has. And I think that Giannis, when he's going to average 13, 14 rebounds, it's not fair to him, by the way. It's going to not be judged as favorably as Luka when he averages near 10 rebounds, because Luka looks less athletic. Luka is less athletic. And I feel like Giannis is being unfairly kind of graded on a curve for just being a freak of nature, Greek freak. I feel like that happens sometimes. Happens to Shaq, happens to Bron, happens to those freaks of nature. In our mind's eye, we see them dominate and we think, of course they should. And so I think it'll come down to those two. I think because a team wins, I think because of mind-boggling stats in all three of points, rebounds, and assists. And I think because he has the storyline. Oh my goodness, poor Luka was traded out of Dallas, which, by the way, I talk about this with my girlfriend sometimes. NBA players make a lot of money, but man, it'd be a terrible job if you just showed up today like it's Wednesday today, it's before work for me, and I just report to work today and they say, hey, by Friday, we need you in Utah, buddy. That would be, I can understand how emotionally that does hurt. But, I guess that's part of what the millions are for. So I think Luka has a storyline because got traded. He cried at the video tribute. He's in LA now. I think he got in shape over the summer. Suppose he was on the cover of Men's Health magazine. Fat Luka to skinny Luka. I think everything is transpiring for him to have the storyline. And so I think it's with LeBron going to be in and out the lineup, but even with LeBron in the lineup, like Luka's played next to Jalen Brunson, Luka's played next to Kyrie Irving, Luka's played next to really, really old Dirk. So in case LeBron falls off a cliff, Luka knows what that's like. I think Luka could average 33, 34 points, especially if this 2-point shooting stays up, because man, I'm gonna show some discipline. I'm not gonna jump ahead to the Lakers section, but if this 2-point shooting keeps up, and it's not just 15 step back 3 attempts a game. I think Luka could really dominate. He's an outstanding rebounder, outstanding scorer. At the rim, he gets to the free throw line, he hits the three. So end of the day, Luka Doncic, which again, I cheer for the Lakers, guys. But this is who I think should win based on what history's taught us, what the curriculum is focused on. Now, I think we need to have a larger discussion here about punishing the best player in the league. I talked about LeBron. I think the same thing happened to Jordan. I think the same thing probably happened to Shaq. It's happened before. This isn't strictly a Bron thing. We punish the best player in the league for being the best player in the league. What do I mean by that? We punish the best player in the league for being the best player in the league. Nikola Jokic, the joke. He has 3 MVPs. As a LeBron fan, do I want Jokic to have 4 MVPs, 5 MVPs, 6 MVPs? No, I don't. As a basketball fan and student of the game, does it make sense that Shea won MVP? Was it validated by the fact that his team won the championship and he was finals MVP? Sure. He led the league in scoring. His team won the championship. His team won the most regular season games. He was finals MVP. He was the best player. Sure. But the fact that it was a landslide bothers me voting wise, and I'll see if I can pull that up. MVP voting, or was it 25? Yeah, I'm tripping. The fact that it was a landslide bothers me a lot. Boom, we had 71 first place votes for Shea, 29 first place votes for Jokic. Nobody else got a vote. Shout out 40-year-old LeBron, tie for 6th. Here's my issue. Shea led the league in scoring. He averaged 33. How many do y'all think Jokic averaged? You know, so as a scorer, averaged 33. Jokic averaged 30. Of course. Shea's a point guard. Jokic is a center. Shea averaged 6 rebounds, 5 rebounds, which he's a decent rebounder for his size and position. Jokic averaged 13, and I'm pretty sure led the league. I'm gonna check that, but I'm pretty sure he led the league. And then Shea is a point guard. Shea is really a 2, to be honest, but he's listed as a point guard. He averaged 6 assists. Jokic averaged 10. So Jokic is outpassing a point guard. Jokic averaged more steals, shot a higher percentage from 2, shot a higher percentage from 3. I think we're missing what we're seeing here. I really need to show you guys what we're seeing here. Points per game. Shea was first, Giannis 2, Jokic 3. So Jokic third in the league in scoring. Jokic third in the league in rebounds. I say he led the league, I was wrong. It was Sabonis. So we got third in the league in scoring, third in the league in rebounds. All right. Second in the league in assists. Jokic is a center. I need y'all to remember that. So, if Shaq was third in the league in scoring and third in the league in rebounds, it will make sense to us, right? What if he was also second in the league in assists? I think it's killing me, and we're not done. 3-point field goal percentage. This is a center. 3-point field goal percentage. 18th. Top 20. He's a top 20 shooter in the league. So top 3 scorer, top 3 rebounder, top 2 passer, top 20 long range shooter as a 7-footer. Also 2-point field goal percentage, just for good measure. He is top 11. He shoots 63%. So what I'm getting at here, it's very simple. Number 1 in player efficiency rating, 2 in win shares, number 1 in offensive win shares. What I'm getting at is fairly simple. You're underrating Jokic. If you're watching this, chances are you're underrating Nikola Jokic, and you're not as a basketball fan. If you are a Nuggets hater, or if you're a Lakers fan and the Nuggets keep beating you, I respect that. But if you are an objective basketball fan, you have to ask yourself how many players in the history of the league, including Kareem, Jordan, LeBron, how many players in the history of the league could be a top 3 scorer, a top 3 rebounder, a top 2 assist guy, passer, a top 20 shooter, a top 12 efficiency player because he's shooting 2-point field goal percentages in the top 11. Like, it's insane. And mind you, while being one of the strongest players in the league, one of the most well conditioned players in the league, he's 7 feet, 200 and something pounds, almost 300 pounds. He's 300 pounds and he's a top 20 shooter. So what are you going to do? Like, Basketball Reference has this man listed at 6'11, 248. Oh, sorry. 248 is one thing. 4. All right, hold on. Time out from my rant. I've never heard anybody call Jokic Big Honey or Cookie Monster. I know Joker, Yoke, that makes sense. Big Tipper, never heard that. But nah, we're not going with Big Honey. That's OD. um. Anyways, yeah, this is just a guy that I've watched before my very eyes become underrated. And it's because, in a lot of ways, we don't want to give him 4 MVPs. We don't want him to be LeBron. And that's where I think you have to be able to ace the test the way history grades him. History's not going to let him do that unless he'll probably have to average a triple-double. And there'll probably have to be no other player just be absolutely dominant and no other team absolutely dominant. And for all that stuff to happen, I just doubt it. I don't think he's going to get another one in his whole career, whether he deserves it or not. Versus how it should be graded. History will be okay. I promise you. If you give Jokic 5 MVPs, people will not say he's better than Jordan. I promise you. People are not going to be having. I got the Jordans right here, the Jordans right here, the Jordans right here. Jordan's legacy is intact. It's marketing at this point. We don't have to protect him. LeBron, I feel like his legacy comes under fire a little bit more, but I promise you, if you give Jokic 4 MVPs, they're not going to say he's better than Bron. Part of the reason Kareem is in the GOAT conversation, I know people say he's not, but he is. Not just because he has 6 MVPs, he also has 6 championships. Jordan, 5 MVPs, 6 championships. LeBron, 4 MVPs, 4 championships. Those are kind of the major players in the GOAT conversation. Even, like, much to my chagrin, people be saying Kobe. I don't think he should be anywhere near the conversation. And that's a whole other video. Maybe I'll do that one next. Kobe's not the GOAT, but 5 championships. So fixing the way we award the MVP award to actually give it to the most valuable player will cause the record books to look a little wonky as newer players benefit and get more MVPs, as Jokic gets more, as Giannis hopefully gets more. As Shea, at some point in his career, Shea is not a bum. He's not an undeserving MVP. I just don't like how it was considered obvious. The most valuable player probably every year for like the past 5-6 years has been Jokic. Let's be 1,000% on that. There's a predictive stat that Bomani Jones talks about. If I was a real Hall of Fame journalist, I would have this at the ready for. I don't remember. At some point in the season, y'all hold me to this. At some point in the season, there's a predictive stat. It might be something like wins over replacement player or VORP, that predicts who wins the MVP award, and it's like 99% accurate. Only time it's lost in years, and like since the turn of the century, is for LeBron and Jokic when they should have won and they didn't. And so voter fatigue is killing. It's killing. All right. We just went 20-something minutes on MVP. I'm way over time. So let's go to the next section on what are people missing? What's the media missing? What is going to happen this season that is not being predicted well enough? And that lets me talk another homework conversation. MVP, I got to predict Luka, larger conversation there, but I'm a Lakers fan. And then in the underrated moves of the offseason, what teams being overlooked? I get to be a homer again. Atlanta Hawks. Don't sleep on the Atlanta Hawks. Now let's talk about why. Let's talk about what the Atlanta Hawks have done. Ooh, by the way, Atlanta opens up today, 7:30 against the Raptors. So it's in Atlanta. Atlanta, you know what I'm saying, show up. But I think what Atlanta's roster was able to do last year before Jalen Johnson got hurt and then they traded DeAndre Hunter, I do think that's a bit of a blow, but they were able to find some replacement value that we'll talk about, Nikhil Alexander Walker and things like that, is very underrated. I think they're very underrated. They went 40 and 42, finished eighth. Pretty sure they lost in the play-in. Don't honestly remember. Did not have a good offensive rating or defensive rating, slightly below average in both. They weren't a great team. Let's just be honest. They weren't a great team. They haven't been a great team in a long time. It's tough to win with a small guard like that. But let's really understand what this young core is able to do. We have Trae Young, led the league in assists. He's still going to give you, 23, 24 plus. He's still guarded as an elite 3-point shooter. Obviously, his efficiency hasn't really been there as an elite 3-point shooter lately. Fine, though, because the defenses still react to him that way, which does open up his drive, open up his passing. Small guard. They've done the Luka method, what Dallas did before they traded him, surrounding your defensive liability point guard with long, athletic, great defensive players on the wing. We got Dyson Daniels, they got Jalen Johnson, they had DeAndre Hunter. I'm sad to let him go, but they got Richardson. They got who they got coming off that bench? Nikhil Alexander Walker. They got all these players. They got the Sin. They got Big Man. They got Okongwu. They brought in Kristaps. They got that boy Muhammad Gay as a good third big. I think the team is built expertly based on the weaknesses of their cornerstone franchise player. And that's what you got to do. I feel like sometimes these teams, even the Lakers, like I feel like that's what got us last year. When everybody would say, oh, Lakers can go to the finals once they traded for Luka. This isn't 2K. This isn't like just get the best talent. We got Luka, we got LeBron, we got Austin Reeves. You have to build the team around your best player. And so I think on that team, it doesn't really matter who's better one-on-one or who's better in a vacuum. Alex Caruso would probably have been better for that team than Austin Reeves. Shout out my boy, said that yesterday if you're listening to this. And I agree because we have Luka and LeBron. We need to build the team around the fact that our cornerstone player, Luka Doncic, ball dominant, great scorer, great passer. We need people who can catch passes, and we need people who can defend. He can't defend, and Atlanta has learned that lesson, and I think they're executing. They're executing in a way that I'm excited about. So let's be clear on who Jalen Johnson is, because I think that's really the most important part of me thinking that they could take a step. Well, actually, the most important part, sadly, is the injuries in the East, which we'll talk about. But let's talk about the Hawks first. Let's talk about the interesting part. Then we'll go to that. Let's look at this. Let me close this so I don't get a copyright strike. Okay, good. Last year, DeAndre Hunter was our second leading scorer. Cool. He's off the team. Jalen Johnson, before he got hurt, he only played 36 games, started off 36. 36 minutes a night. You have to understand, he was giving us, without being a great shooter, by the way, without being a great shooter, which is something he could work on, 19 points, 10 rebounds, 5 assists. Who knew that? Who knew that Jalen Johnson was a 20, 10, and 5 guy? Because I don't think the media is talking about that the way that they should. He's giving you a couple offensive rebounds a game, getting you another possession. Jalen Johnson is that guy. And I feel like if he's able to take a step, let's say he doesn't get better at all. He got injured. He couldn't really work. But let's just say he bumps his 3-point percentage up from 31%, not to elite, maybe to 33 or 34%, because he's a young player. He's 23 years old. He was 23 last year. So let's say he could do an improvement like that or an equivalent improvement, whether it's on the defensive end, whether he worked on, his cutting. Let's just say he improves a little bit as a player. He can be the second best player on a frisky team, on a team you don't want to play in the playoffs. It's hard for even me to call them a true championship contender, but I do think they're a true Eastern Conference contender because of just the collection of players that they brought in. Because we have to assume the injuries are going to come with Kristaps. We have to. But when Kristaps plays, he can give you 20 and 10 in 3 or 4 blocks. So now we have 3 players that could potentially give you 20 points and 10. For Trae Young, assists. For Jalen Johnson and Kristaps, rebounds. But I think that's something not a lot of teams have. And to say nothing of the fact that in addition to those 3 players, which can give you 20 and 10, we have the most improved player, Dyson Daniels, my forever defensive player of the year. Nah, I'm cool with whoever they gave it to. I don't remember if they gave it to Rudy or Mobley, but fine. It's mostly a big man award. But we got Dyson Daniels, who only takes good shots without being an elite shooter, still shoots league average from 3. Without really being a scorer, still gives you 14 points a night. Led the league with 3 steals a night. Led the league with deflections. Moves the ball well. I mean, 14, 6, and 4 for a defensive guy. He's a defensive guy. We got him. We had the number 1 pick last year, Zachary Ricochet. Sidebar. Only my Hawks, man. The draft will go Wemby, my Hawks, and then Cooper Flag. No disrespect to Ricochet, but it would have been nice to be on that Wemby train. But we got Zachary Ricochet, who started for us last year, who started and looked like he belonged. He's finding his role. He's a good shooter. He's very, very tall. He was second in Rookie of the Year to Stephon Castle. Good player. Good player. 6'8". Like, I'm okay with thinking as an all rookie player, Ricochet, I don't really think he's going to be a superstar, but thinking he could take a step. So, in summary, I didn't even talk about Nickeil Alexander-Walker, who came over from the Timberwolves and was a part of the reason they were able to 4-1 the Lakers and 4-2 the Warriors. But they brought in Kristaps Porzingis, a 2010 and 4 block guy, when healthy about half the time. They brought in, quote unquote, Jalen Johnson, who was out for the year last year, a 2010 and 5 guy. We have a number 1 pick that we can expect to improve on his game. We have Luke Kennard, the addition that they brought in, who's just a sniper. He's not going to average 40 minutes a night, but he's just an absolute 3-point sniper. And so I think with that, the fact that Onyeka Okongwu has become, as a backup, if Kristaps starts, which I don't know exactly what they're going to do, but would be arguably the best backup big in the league. They can play 2 big lineups because Kristaps can shoot the rock. They got Nickeil Alexander-Walker, so they just can bring in defense and defense and defense. Everybody I've named outside of Trae Young is a dog on defense. Or is just big. So big, long, strong wings. Ricochet, Johnson, Daniels, Nickeil Alexander-Walker. At the bigs, you got Okongwu, you got Kristaps. Like, they're just deep this year. Deep. 6 or 7 or 8 guys you can trust in the playoffs, which is what you need. And then the sad part of the reason, the flip side, this honestly probably should have led the analysis, but I, as a fan, I just didn't want to talk about it. As a basketball fan, the East is open, man. The Knicks and the Cavs are projected to be at the top. Best player, tore his ACL. Best player last year. Pacers, finalist out of the East. Best player, tore his ACL or tore his Achilles. Done. Bucks, who have the best player in the conference, they took their second best player, popped his Achilles, shipped him out, brought in Miles Turner. So I just think there's 3 top teams, literally 3 top 6 teams in the East from last year that have significant injury issues. And I think that vacuum is going to open up. I think Philly will be better than people think. And I think Atlanta will be top 4, top 3. I say top 3 just for shock value team in the East. And so I think that's kind of what the media is missing. Definitely look out for that. We will see if that happens come the end of the year. Which offseason moves won't work out, man? We're going to kind of rapid fire these. Which offseason moves won't work out, championship prediction, and then some quick Lakers thoughts. I don't see the Clippers, the unction, as you can see on one of our offseason videos. The Clippers have a good roster. The Clippers have a good roster. I don't have many basketball reasons to say they won't work out. It's a vibes, it's a personality, it's an age, it's an injury thing. So we're relying on Harden, Beal, Kawhi. They brought in they brought in Beal, they brought in CP3, they brought in Brook Lopez. These are all these great players. Like to have Kawhi, Brook Lopez, and Zubac as like your front court, hold on, that's very impressive. And then to have Harden, Beal, CP3 in your backcourt, again impressive. And then they have good players around the wing. They got Derrick Jones Jr. They got a couple of pieces. Ty Lue, y'all tell us early in the morning, but Ty Lue, good coach. It's just, man, this stuff with circumventing why. I feel like that's kind of going to hang over the team this year. I think it's tough to expect CP3 to get through a season and playoffs. He normally gets to the regular season pretty well, but and playoffs, it's tough to expect Kawhi to get through the season and the playoffs. It's tough to expect James Harden to show up in the season and the playoffs. And I just think at a certain point, relying on like Brook Lopez to anchor your defense at 34, 30, was he 36, 37, relying on Chris Paul to be your backup point guard at 38, 39. I just think at a certain point, it's too much. It's too high of a percentage of the responsibilities that need to be fulfilled on the basketball court concentrated in players aged 35 and up. I think Steph, KD, and LeBron are making us forget that you're not, you're out of your prime. And even those three players are out of their prime, but they're just hanging on so well. And so are players like Kawhi and Harden, and Kawhi and Harden. So I understand the excitement, but I just think trying to play hard defense, 82 games, hopefully 100 games, it's going to be very challenging. And so I expect the Clippers to be about where they were last year, by the way. This isn't a prediction of, doom and gloom. They were 4 or 5 seed last year, out the first round. That sounds about right. A championship prediction. So we haven't had a repeat champion in the past since KD Warriors, I think. Yeah. I'm about to do exercise right now on camera, so y'all tell me if I'm wrong. 25 OKC, 24 Boston, 23. Who won 23? It wasn't Denver, was it? Might have been Denver. 22 Warriors, 21 Bucks, 20 Lakers, 19 Raptors, 18-17 Warriors. Yeah. So we haven't had a repeat champion since 2017, 2018. This is the year that ends. And here are the reasons why. The reason we haven't had a repeat champion is the League of Parity. Adam Silver's built this in purposefully. It's worked. There's arguments to be made on whether it's good for the league or not, but there is objectively not really an argument that it hasn't worked. We're headed towards a time where, like, a lot of teams have a chance right now. There's no juggernaut. Denver has a chance. OKC has a chance. Houston feels like they have a chance. LA feels like they have a chance. Cleveland has a chance. New York has a chance. At the end of the day, the injuries that have occurred, that I've already mentioned in the Hawks segment, to the East really, really affect my trust in the East's ability to put out a team that could defeat the West champion. I actually don't think the East is weak. I just think the firepower at the top of the East in Cleveland and New York doesn't scare me as much as the firepower in OKC or the firepower in Houston or the firepower in Denver. So that narrows my scope to what's going to happen in the West. And we haven't even had a repeat finals or repeat finalist in the past 7 or 8 years. So I'm picking against history here. And the reason is just kind of like Boston after they won, and obviously they didn't repeat. So, but they have too many players that can shoot, and they're young enough to where it's hard to see, you know, it's hard to see huge regression from that team. You know, it's hard to see huge regression from that team. So Shea, assuming Shea stays healthy, I also think the Thunder are most equipped in the league to deal with injuries to important players. Last year they won the championship. Chet missed 50 games. I want you to understand that their third best player that they just maxed out this summer missed 50 games. Jalen Williams missed the opener. It's one game, but they double overtimed and clocked the Rockets in a classic. That's their second best player. Like, so besides Shea, they're uniquely built to withstand injuries because of just how deep they go with players who can knock down an open shot and defend their position well on the other end. I mean, it's insane. Shea, Jalen Williams, Chet, I don't even, Hartenstein, Dort. That's a crazy starting lineup, defensively and offensively. Chet is 7 foot and plays the floor and knocks down threes. It's not normal. They got Caruso coming off the bench, who's a starter. Caruso is not only a starter, a championship level starter. Definitely championship level 6 man. And then they got Aaron Wiggins came in hitting big shots yesterday. Kason Wallace comes in and plays good defense. You can't leave anybody open. You can't help. And at the end of the day, if you don't help, Shea's just going to get 35, 40, and he's going to get to the free throw line every single time. His possession last night to kind of ice the game where they had, who do they have? They had Okogie on them. They got a switch out of the ATO, had KD on him. KD played good defense, and Shea got a foul. I hate ending the game on free throws, but it was a foul. Even before that, to send the game to overtime, Amen Thompson had him. Amen Thompson played him perfectly, but they didn't send help. Shea has turned, the free throw line lane jumper into the same percentage as most players would shoot, like a long layup, like a floater. So for most NBA players, a 4 or 5 footer kind of floater where they hit most of the time, that's Shea for a mid range. So, I mean, unbelievable talent level. Last year they won the West by like 10 games. So I think that's the difference. The difference between the reason we haven't had a repeat finalist in the past and the reason I'm predicting one this year. OKC wasn't just better than the West last year, they were way better. They were way better than everyone else. They were about, I want to say 12 games. I'll just look it up. West, let me see. That's not true. There we go. All right. Oh, 14 games. Actually, 16 games. 16 games above second place. So, I mean, at a certain point, they were 68-14. The Rockets were 52-30. I do think the Rockets got better, and I do think the Thunder will get a little worse. I mean, they were 39-13 in the conference last year. So the fact that they might get a little worse, I mean, who cares? You kind of know what I mean? Like, I feel like they had such a cushion over the rest of the conference and really over the rest of the league because even though Boston and the Cavaliers both had great records, they flamed out in the playoffs. And so, neither of them even made the conference finals. So when you factor in regular season success with postseason success, they were head and shoulders above the entire NBA last year. I also feel like their championship. This is going to sound kind of opposite of what I just said, admittedly, but their championship didn't come easy, and so like I feel like when Boston won, and Denver won, even when the Bucks won, it was kind of an easy road through the playoffs. And I feel like maybe that like championship medal that all those teams definitely do have, it wasn't as tested. Their experience, while valid and that ring is valid, might not have prepared them going forward. Playing when Denver played the Miami Heat, when Jimmy Butler got a heater in the finals with Gabe Vincent as an important starter, like that might not be the same mentally for the effect going forward as OKC playing 2 7-game series. One 7-game series against the best player in the world and winning, and another 7-game series against the hottest team in the league and winning. I think that experience it's almost as if they could have lost that game 7 is what I'm saying. So we haven't had a repeat finalist, but just imagine the world where round 2 they lose the game 7 to Denver, and it's like, okay, this year, I feel like they will have a great chance to win the championship. And I feel like we were 1 millisecond away from that happening. And so they can benefit from the fact that they had such a challenging championship road that they happen to overcome. I think they can do it again. It's more sustainable. And last but not least, I mean, injuries in the East just make the East, in my opinion, not really a viable option to threaten them. So, man, I'll get y'all out of here. Lakers thoughts. Luka, man, for this year, things I'm looking at for Luka. I hope he doesn't live by the 3, die by the 3. That's the first thing I'm looking at. First game was extremely promising, because I think that the only way the Lakers will be successful, we can't just have, even if Luka averages 35, if it's all 3-pointers, that's not. You live by the 3, die by the 3. Defenses are happy with that. I hate to say it. If you're going to take the step back 12 times a game and you're not Steph Curry, what more do you want us to do as a defense? If you hit them, tip your cap. But you're not going to hit those at a high enough clip. So I wanted to really focus on getting in the paint to great. I think let's not underestimate Jackson Hayes this year. I think that Jackson, after seeing DeAndre Ayton, people were saying he just has a bad attitude and things like that. The brother doesn't look as skilled so far as I would have hoped. And that actually doesn't mean he looks bad. He looks fine. He looks like a league average center. He looks kind of like, I guess Zubac, but even a little bit less of a presence offensively in the paint. So I think if we can get Zubac level play out of him this year, it'll be a surprise, a pleasant surprise. His hands seem to be a little bit unsure. His athleticism seems to have waned. They seem to think he's a lob threat, and he's not. Catching, finishing, he kind of has to be open. He'll charge, he'll travel. It's really odd because like I said, all the criticisms have been about mentally, but physically, I mean, he's a perennial 15-10 guy. And so maybe he's getting his feet wet. Maybe it's a lot to get used to playing with such a ball dominant player, but he played with Chris Paul. So I don't know. I don't know what's going to happen with Ayton, but don't underestimate Hayes, not because he's better in a vacuum, but because that chemistry he has with Luka and with Reeves to a lesser extent, but with Luka, and that vertical spacing is very, very important to Luka Doncic to have either a big who can space the floor or a big who can catch the lob. So it's not just Hayes, actually. That's what I meant to say. Don't underestimate the Lakers' backup centers, Hayes and Maxi Kleber. Maxi Kleber being a stretch big, Hayes being the vertical lob threat. DA could be the most skilled guy by the end of the day, like I said about the Hawks, and like the Mavericks found out with Luka, you have to build the team around Luka. He's not KD where you just drop him in. And so don't be surprised if the minutes rotation looks closer to, like, instead of 15 minutes for Hayes and 33 minutes for DA, don't be surprised if the center rotation is more like 26 minutes for DA, 18 minutes for Hayes, and 8 minutes for Maxi Kleber. So watch out for that. Defensively, they got to get better. My quick prediction, just Lakers propaganda style. Defensively, they got to get a lot better. I think Luka by himself is a playoff berth right now. So I will say top 6. They were 3rd seed last year, but the rest is so compact. Minnesota's coming back. Golden State's going to be better. Houston and OKC aren't going anywhere and potentially could be better. That's 4 teams already. Clippers were top 5 last year. Barring injury, they're going to be, in there. So, yeah, I think fighting for top 6. The Pelicans are going to be better. The Spurs, I think the hype's a little high, but they're going to be better. So it's going to be a tough road. I think top 6 is a good goal for LA. They played well offensively yesterday. And I actually think, people are, they did. They got absolutely smacked around yesterday. I do think a lot of it comes down to one stat, which is that Jonathan Kuminga shot 4 of 6 from three. It was just dominant 2-point as well. It was a game plan loss. The game plan was to put, and especially coming out in the second half, put the center on Kuminga and let him kind of shoot, let the center lag off and muck up everything else. Because they were trying to do it with Draymond, but that's been happening to Draymond for so long. It's clear Draymond's found a way to make himself useful despite that. So they tried to do it with Kuminga. Kuminga made him pay. You win some, you lose some. You know what I'm saying? Buddy Hield also shot 5 of 10 from three. That's not sustainable, but Buddy Hield's a great 3-point shooter, so that's fine. The Warriors shot 43.5% from three, and they lost by 10. So you know what? I don't think the sky is falling. I do think they need to get better defensively, but Lakers, man, hey, might be a frustrating watch this season, but I still think they'll win more games than they lose, and they'll be dangerous at the end of the year. Thank you guys for rocking out with me. Been a short off season. We're back. Hey, you can find us wherever you want to find us, man. We are on YouTube. We got the audio platforms. We're on Spotify. We're on Apple Podcasts. We're on Audible or Amazon Podcasts, whatever that may be. But you can find us on social media, on Instagram, TikTok. Please follow, share, like, rate, subscribe. All that good stuff, man. Argue with me in the comments. I'll see y'all boys next time.